Well, good evening, everybody. It's Mary with Stamps-N-Lingers, and it is 8 o'clock on Sunday evening, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to give it just a second to be sure that my internet doesn't decide to crap out, and get refreshed here to see if I'm transmitting. Yes, so I am. Hi, Ann. Hey, Paula. Glad you guys could join me tonight. I appreciate that very much. And Nancy, welcome. Thank you for joining. Hey, Donna. All right, before we get going, I have a new light on my phone, and it is currently on. I want a little feedback from y'all. I'm kind of watching what's going on my screen here, but I'm going to turn this to some of the different settings and see if you can see any difference. You let me know if there's one that's better than others. Hey, Karen and Robbie, how are you doing? Hey, Barbara. Hey, Jean. All right, I think I can see some differences. Hey, Marianne. I don't like that warm one. I think we're going to go with that one right there, unless you guys think that's really bad. Hi, Denise. How are you? Hi, Jean from Delaware. How are you? Hope you guys are having good weather. We got rained out today pretty solid, and now it's cold again, so I've had to close all my windows because I was actually cold. Yes, I know. It's hard to believe. Turns out when you lose a lot of weight and you don't have some of that padding, you get cold. I could never understand why Wayne was always cold, and now I'm starting to see that. So anyway, let us commence, if we will. Just a little glare on the copper. Yeah, I don't think, I'm going to turn this off right quick and see if that changes it any. I don't think it's going to. No, see, that glare is from the OT lights. It's just not going to do any better. All right. Well, I was kind of hoping it would give us a little more light on the subject. So anyway, this is the card that I gave you the sneak peek of this morning. And you can see it's got kind of a fun embossing treatment that we're going to do. This is embossing on embossing. And Alicia Smith sent me a Pinterest card with a link to, I think, Karen Oliver in Australia. And she had done a card using this. You'll see it tomorrow on my post. And there's a link right to her blog site so you can see the original card there. But this is the You're Inspiring stamp set, one of my very favorites. I just love this daffodil, both images really, but this large one in particular. Thanks, Karen. Thank you, Paula. Hey, Mary. Yeah, I've got some of that old stuff going on too. So, all right. So this is the card we're making, and using one of my very favorite new things. This is the basket weave teeth, the dynamic teeth. It's bundled with the blossoming basket stamp set, and you can get it for free right now until the end of celebration at the end of March. Now, just so you know, this is going to be in the new annual catalog. They've told us that already. The only difference is I ain't going to be free, folks. So if you like this basket weave teeth, and I can't imagine why you wouldn't, you want to get it now while it's free, because free is, of course, the best price. Hey, Kathy, welcome. I'm glad you could make it. Glad you could make it. Hey, Donna. Appreciate you joining. Hey, Jean, eat a piece of pineapple cake for me, please. All you ladies. All right. So let us commence, shall we? Let's look at some card cuts. I have a Daffodil Delight card base. It's the normal size, 4 1/4 by 11, scored and folded at 5 1/2. I decided to make a slightly smaller card front and kind of pull out that Daffodil Delight. So I have Always Artichoke as my matting. And it is, where did I write it? I want to say it's 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. And then there's a very vanilla piece for the inside that is 1/8 smaller all the way around. And my card front is soft suede. And it's going to look very different here in just a minute. And I cut a piece of copper foil with the Starburst, the new Starburst punch. Hey, Twyla. Glad you could join us today from North Kakalaki. And we're going to emboss that. So what I did is I cut the foil with the Starburst punch, and then I embossed it in the basket weave teeth, same as I had done for the soft suede. Okay. And then I've got a couple of already fussy cut flowers, and we'll fussy cut that one before we get done. All right, so let us start. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to emboss my embossed panel. All right, so I'm going to get out my copper powder and my Versamark ink. Now, all I'm going to do is I'm just turning the pad over and I'm rubbing it all over the card front. When I did this the first time, I thought it would be cool to have it just embossed on one side and then plain on the other. And I didn't like it, so I went back and I did another card front. Okay. So really all you're doing is you're trying to rub across the top of the embossed image. And it's not very difficult to do. These dynamic teeths, they really put a lot of texture in. So you have a lot of really good bumps and ridges, I suppose is the, you know, the technical term, bumps and ridges. And then I'm just going to pick this up and I'm going to sprinkle my copper embossing folder. No, this is not an embossing folder. This is powder. All right. We'll get that all over. Turn that over and give it a tap, tap, tap. And I'm going to take a little hold of it and give it a little stronger tap here in about 2 seconds. You can see I've got some excess, so I'm going to move away because here's a news flash. You don't want to blow on this over the top of that open container of embossing. So really all I'm doing is just kind of blowing off the excess here. Because what I really don't want is, I don't want it down in the crevices. I just want it on the raised portions, right? You're tracking what I'm talking about? Okay. Now, I'm going to brush off all of this powder that I got everywhere. The copper powder, for some reason, is particularly... it goes every which way from Sunday. Hey, Angie. And yes, I am going to onstage. It worked out. Jean, you are right. Always Artichoke is really one of my favorite colors, and I really love it when you're trying to make kind of a botanical image, right? Alright, we're going to get this embossed, and I can see some spots where I maybe didn't get powder, so I may have to go back again, and that'll be alright. Or I may like it like this, where it's a little spottier. We don't know. Hi, Angie. And yes, my trip that was supposed to happen in, well, now, has moved, and so I will be going to onstage in Atlanta. I'm very excited about that. Are you going to get to go? And I did get signed up for Brian King's spring stamping event that is the day before, so that's going to be kind of fun. That'll be a good weekend. And I cannot wait to see the new catalog. Yay! All right. Just take your time with this. I'm going in Atlanta. The blower, Sharon, this is the Stampin' Up! Heat tool, and I'll show the sides of it to you here in just a second once I get everything embossed. So when you're embossing, a lot of people want to do this and wave it around. Don't, just hold it steady and watch that magical transformation take place. All right. So this is the Stampin' Up! Heat tool, and it is 2 speed. So what you heard, that is the high speed for embossing, and then you have a low speed for drying ink. Like if you stamp on vellum, it's very nice to be able to use this to stamp to help it dry a little more quickly if you are impatient like I am. All right, now, I don't know, I kind of actually like that, kind of modeled like that. What do you guys think? I actually think that's going to be good. I'm not going to mess with that. I kind of like that look. A little less coverage than I had on the first one, so I'm going to leave it like that. Now, if you didn't like it when you were making this, if you didn't like it, just kind of rub back over the places that didn't get the embossing powder with your Versamark, sprinkle some more on, tap it off, and go on with it, right? Oh, good, and going to Hartford, Connecticut. That'll be cool. Hey, Twyla. I'll see you there then. Excellent. Looking forward to that. Okay, let's set that aside. I'm going to do the, since I'm kind of in embossing mode right now, when I first put this together, I thought this is so shiny and this is so kind of organic. I thought maybe I could make this a little more organic, and so I decided to try something different. So really I just kind of smeared some Versamark on my copper foil. And I was experimenting on the other one, but I kind of liked it, so I decided to just do it again. I'm just doing it again. Thanks, Paula and Barb. Appreciate that. All right. Set that aside and do one more emboss right now. And then we'll be done until we get ready to do our artwork on the front. Finny and I had a little company today. My friend brought her two tiny humans over. The little girl, Maya, has developed what happens to all little girls. She has become enamored with the idea of a horse. And so they came to get a little horse time. Okay, now let me tell you a little something here about this. This curled up a little bit. So when I did the first one, I turned it over like that, and then I heated it. Guess what that did? You got it. It heated up that copper, and it actually worked okay. I kind of liked what it did, but it got copper all over my work surface, and that was kind of annoying. So just give this a little bit of a straighten up. And see, I like that. It kind of tones it down to me a little bit and makes it a little more the same color. Oh, I really am liking how that's looking. That's good. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and get some stuff built here. First, I'm just going to use a little fast fuse and get our embossed panel on our card, on our mat, on our beautiful. Always artichoke gets kind of a bad rap because it's not like the most vibrant of colors, but like I said, it's perfect for when you're trying to have kind of an organic, botanical. Hey, Sue. Thank you for joining me tonight. Here we go. Let's get that on there as straight as we can, because straight is better than crooked. All right, so there's our card front. And we'll just set that aside for a momento. All right, now I'm going to stamp my art piece. And this is oh, sorry about that, you guys. Did I just make you sick? All right, this is 2.5 by 4 1/4. And since it's small and my image is large and I really want it on there correctly, I'm going to go ahead and use my Stamp-A-Majig, all right? And when I use a Stamp-A-Majig with Versamark, I always stamp in another color first because you can't see Versamark on the Stamp-A-Majig mat, right? Oop, get that little booger off of there. You guys find it? Somebody on the demonstrator planning place, I think it was, a Facebook page, had opened her refrigerator and she found Stampin' Dimensionals on the on the food inside the refrigerator, the little covers. And so she posted out, what's the funniest place you've ever found Stampin' Dimensionals? There were some funny places. So I, of course, posted the picture of Finn with the cover on his schnoozle. I'm pretty sure I won that contest. It wasn't a contest, but I would have won it if it had been, because he's so cute. All right, so we're just going to set up our Stamp-A-Majig. Is it possible to get just the mat for the Stamp-A-Majig? I don't know, Sue. I haven't seen that in the catalog, but it would certainly be worth a call to demonstrator support. And if you want to do that, that would be great. Otherwise, I will be happy to do it for you. Just let me know. And we'll see. Have you damaged yours in some way? I'm assuming by the question. All right, so I'm just going to kind of get that centered on my art panel. Place that in, and then I'm going to clean off my stamp set. You want to be careful that you don't dislodge the stamp from the block, or you have to start over. That is particularly easy to do on some of the smaller images. Holy moly, I can knock those off in a half a heartbeat. I don't know, Karen, if you could use a window sheet or not. I don't know that it's got the right consistency. I think it's a little too flimsy. The value in this sheet is that it's stiff enough to kind of shove it up in that corner, and it's going to stay, it's going to be where you put it. I think it would be worth a call. So you just let me know if you want me to make that phone call for you. I will be happy to do it in the morning. All right, so now I'm going to ink up my stamp on with Versamark. You'll be glad to know we're almost done with the embossing. And then I'm going to just pick that up carefully. When your art piece is smaller than you can stick your holding tool down, you kind of have to be careful when you pick the plastic up, because static will pull it up with you, and then you've moved everything and you have to start over. All right, so we'll just carefully put that down, move the positioner out the way. You bet, Sue. Good luck. I hope they've got one. Alrighty. And then we'll sprinkle. We're going to sprinkle that with some copper embossing powder. Sprinkle it right up. Tap, 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 tap. Make sure we've got a good coverage. Looks pretty good. And then I'm going to set this out the way once and for all. I just bought a little pack of some new containers for my embossing powder that I'm going to try. I actually, I did replace it because I don't know if, I've done a couple of things that were stupid. So, like, I had ink on my stamp, and I have no idea how or why I tried to ink the Versamark and it got it dirty. And then one time I blew off the excess embossing powder from my panel, and I blew the embossing powder right onto the pad, and it just started to get kind of nasty. So I just replaced it. As long as it stays clean and pretty and doesn't offend me to look at it, then I would just use the refill. All right. So there's that. We're going to let that cool a minute, and then I'm going to color it with my Stampin' Right markers. Now, I don't know if you guys have tried coloring embossed images with the Stampin' blends, and so tell me if I'm just completely off track. I think the alcohol ink in the Stampin' blends reacts with the embossing powder after it's embossed, and it weakens that bond. And so then that embossing coloring bleeds. I've seen it now twice, and I thought maybe I was just imagining it, but then I decided with this one, there you go. See, Sue said it does, and so I believe this to be a true thing. So from here on, I will be attempting to color my embossing things with my Stamp-N-Write markers instead of with my Stamp-N-Blends, which is too bad, isn't it? Bummer. So all I'm doing here is, first off, I'm coloring the flowers with my Daffodil Delight Stamp-N-Write marker. And you're going to be able to get some pretty decent shading with this, thanks to the wonderful shading marks that the Stampin' Up! Designers put in for us. Makes it kind of no-brainer. I like no-brainer because sometimes my brain doesn't even show up at the crafting table. So I'm coloring these one time with my Stampin' marker. You'll be glad to know that even though there's 6 flowers, I've already colored the rest of them. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry a second. And then I'm using Pear Pizzazz and Old Olive to color the leaves. And I'm just going to see where the leaves have 2 sides to them. I'll color one side one color and one side the other color. And there will be places where I make errors, and that's okay. It's a card, not rocket science or war or anything like that. It's a card, and it's supposed to be fun, so have fun with it. This is my kind of coloring. Not very big, not extensive. And I like coloring with the embossed images because it kind of gives you a barrier, right? Finney enjoyed the little kids coming today. He thought that was kind of a bonus. So he is exhausted now. They wore him out, and they didn't even mean to wear him out. They didn't even know they were wearing him out, but they wore him out. They wore him out. But he likes tiny humans because their face is right there at licking level. And he can't hardly... yes, that's absolutely true. So you can pollute your markers. So you can clean them off, though. I've seen where I've done that, and you can kind of clean them off. So that's okay. But yeah, better to not use those. Okay, so now I'm just going back to fill in the rest of the leaves with my Old Olive marker. Just like that. Isn't this the prettiest image, y'all? I love this. I hope this one goes to the new catalog because I really like this stamp set. That would be nice. Actually, there's quite a few in the Occasions catalog I hope go across. You guys have any favorites that you're hoping to see when the new Catty comes out? Tell me, tell me, tell me. I want to know. All right. Almost done. Alrighty. And now I'll put a little pumpkin pie. Did he need a bath? No, I didn't give him, well, let me rephrase. Yeah, he probably needed a bath, but he didn't get a bath because I knew the rain was coming, and there's really no point in bathing him right before rain. He needs a bath now like nobody's business. He is a muddy, muddy, mud bucket, ball bucket. Ugh. Okay, so now I'm going to come back with the same Daffodil Delight marker, and I'm just going to color over the marks that Stampin' Up! Has given us for the shading. It's not quite as nice a shade as the Stampin' Blends, but I think it does pretty well, and it gives some depth to those flowers. What do you think? All right, and we'll do this one. I picked all my daffodils today because I was watching the radar and there was a big rainstorm coming, and I knew that they would not survive. So I picked them all. I picked them all, and I have them in a little vase on my counter. Yes, Angie, I think that could be because there's more space. You can just kind of ease up to the edge and not touch it. But when you have something like this, it's almost impossible to not rub over the embossing. So, all right, there we go. So that is that. Let's go ahead and put it on its mat. Okay, I'm going to miss Fast Fuse, but I am not going to miss its persnicketyness. Okie dokie. Yes, I do. And Angie, I only had like 10 or 12. When I went to the feed store today, I passed places where there were just masses of them. Masses of them. Absolutely. That's one of my favorite things is when they're all out under the trees and in all the beds and they've just gone crazy. I love it. I love them. All right, so we're going to mat that like so. Okay. And then, yeah, the pandas probably won't. The pandas probably will not make it across. That is true. Okay, I'm going to take my soft suede Stampin' marker, and I'm going to make some stitches. I don't even know why I did this, but I liked it, so I did it. You feel like we need the Jeopardy music, eh? All right. My dog is under the table, snoozing away. The cats are laying over on the sofa, wondering why I'm still up. You ever have a day where you just want to be done at like dinner time and call it a night? That was how I was today. Apparently, running a mini horse camp for 2 little kids tired me out more than I thought. It was fun though. They're cute kids. I took them for a ride around the back of the back line on the 4-wheeler, and they thought that was pretty cool. Actually, I think they thought everything was cool. What they liked the most, though, was giving the ponies their peppermints, and they were amazed that Mr. Finn likes peppermints. But he proved that I was not lying. I got to tell you what, though, he wasn't much guard dog, y'all. So I was sitting here. I'd already opened the gate for them to come in, so that they didn't have to sit and wait for me. And I didn't know that they were here. I didn't know they were here. And then I see a text that came and it says, "Well, I've driven through the place and I don't know if I'm in the right spot. Do you have a dog with an orange collar?" I'm like, yes, I do. So he just quietly jumped up from under the golf cart where he'd been sleeping and gone to say, "Hey there, hi, what you doing? Who are you? Get out and pet me." So apparently if you're not a blue tarp or rogue daffodils, come on in. All right, now we're just going to fast fuse this onto the card front. And then I'm going to wrap some linen. I know, he was really... Now, Angie, are you asking, does he like peppermints, or are you asking why in the world did he not bark ferociously at our intruder? If that's the question, I got nothing. I don't even know. Maybe he used his dog sense to know that they weren't dangerous. All right, so I've just wrapped that around twice. This is linen thread, obviously. And I'm going to just make a knot. I'm not going to make a bow. It's going to be a little more simple than that. And I'm going to use my 4th hand here to tie this knot. Maybe, or maybe not. See what I did there? Okay. And then we can straighten that up as we go. And we'll leave those kind of long until we get done. Okay. Now, let us make a sentimente, shall we? All right, so I've got another piece of Very Vanilla, and I'm going to use the Kind Thoughts for You sentiment right here. And we're gonna need, we don't need the Stamp-A-Majig because we're just gonna stamp this and then I'm gonna cut it out with my I'm going to cut it out with the tailored tag punch. The only hard part about this is make sure you stamp your image far enough in that you can get the whole label done. I had to, see, now this, people, this is... Oh my goodness gracious, what a goofer. Can you even see? Tombow Extreme is the same as SU Fast Fuse. Nice, good to know. Thank you, Marianne. All right, did you see what I did there? That is crazy. And look, that is a mistake, an accident waiting to happen. So I am going to not risk that. Hang on just a minute, y'all. God. Can you even believe I did that? What a dork. Apparently I'm tired. Okay, we're going to turn this over. That's why there's two sides to the paper. Let's try that again. Let's try that again, shall we? All right. I'm going to close this booger. Yeah, oopsie daisy is right. And I'm glad you do it too, Sue, because, you know. Jeez. All right, so we're just going to center that up in the tailored tag punch. I hope this goes through too. I like this little punch. I like punches. I don't know about you guys, but I like punches a lot. All right. And then some more stitches right quick. It got so quiet in here. So the Tombow Extreme is the way to go, huh? All right. I may do that, and I may just stick with the good old white liquid glue. All right, let's build us a card front here. And speaking of white liquid glue, I'm going to use it. I think I'm going to slide my twine up a little bit. There we go. Like that. Okay. And I'm going to use it to adhere my embossed copper foil circle. Now what I'm doing here is I'm gonna pop a flower onto that over the top, so I just want to be sure that my circle clears it so that I don't have it interfering. All right. And there's that like that. We'll just give it a little hold for a second. And while that hand is holding in an excess of multitasking, I'm going to put some Stampin' Dimensionals on the back of my tag so that I can pop it on. This is taking a little longer to dry and hold because it's got a little bit of curl in it from the embossing. So I'm just holding it down to give it a head start in life. Also, I wanted to see if I could put Stampin' Dimensionals on there with just one hand, and I can. All right. That should be good. And we'll peel these off. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, Paula. I kind of hope so. I do need a third hand, but that would be kind of weird, wouldn't it, Paula? If I had a third hand. I mean, I'm not judging if there's people out there with third hands. Good on them, but you'd have to hope it was on the end of another arm, because otherwise it might not be so handy. All right, and then we're going to put this, and I kind of like it sort of aligned with my linen thread, like that. Okay. All right, now our last little dooha is I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut this daffodil, and I thought I would do it in case there's folks out there. I know there's a lot of people who are really worried about fussy cutting, and I am encouraging you to not be, because it's not very hard. What are the tricks? What are the tips? The first one is, you see how I have the paper pushed right back up into the fulcrum of the scissors. I'm not out here trying to steer, okay? The next thing you're going to notice is that, if you could see it, my index finger is sort of steadying the bottom of the scissors. And then my pointer finger and thumb are turning the paper. And that is the final trick, and probably the most critical trick, is turn the paper, not the scissors. Another thing that will help is to cut it out of its surroundings so you're not fighting all of that excess cardstock as you're doing your fussy cut. The other thing is, give yourself a break. It is not going to be perfect. Now, the only people I've ever seen who could perfectly fussy cut is those wonderful folks at Stampin' Up. Have you ever look in the annual catalog, you guys, or even the Celebration catalog? Look at some of those things that they have fussy cut. You can tell they've fussy cut them because they are stamped images that are cut out and there is no die for them. And they have perfect edges. I have a much easier time fussy cutting right up against the edge. If I attempt to make where there's a little border of cardstock as if it was cut by a framelit, my goodness, I might as well just give that up. Hey, Amy, glad you could join us at all. Sue, I'm sure it probably is hard for lefties. I'm guessing there might be a lot of things hard for lefties. I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine. I suppose you could try to teach yourself to do it ambidextrously. Like, I mean, I use my left hand to put mascara on, and I usually manage to not stick it in my eye. But I can't do anything else with my left hand. So maybe there's some things that you can learn to do right-handed. Okay. All right, so there's that, and I'm going to show you one last trick. And I try to do this when I die cut, but especially when I fussy cut, is I just take a Stampin' Bright marker that's in a similar color to either the stamped image or the embossed image, and I just edge it a little bit, and that really helps to put kind of a softer touch on the edge and hide any whoopsie daisies. All right, so you just kind of go around like that, easy peasy. All right, now let's get those stuck on there, shall we? Here's how it's going to be. We're going to pop this one up. We're going to pop this small one up. I'm not popping the bud. And then I'm taking the third flower that I fussy cut, and I'm just going to pop it up right over the sentiment like that. Like so. So let's do it. Let's stop yakking and do it. Let's do it. put a big one there, and then I'm going to put a couple of smaller ones. The image, I guess it would be on the wrong side, wouldn't it? It would be, huh? I'm not sure how you would... I got nothing. I have no way to help you with that, Sue. I'm sorry. Maybe my fussy cutting mentor, Sue Prather, has an idea. She's the one who taught me how to fussy cut. Okay. So I'm just going to put that on there. And you can see I borked it because I didn't want a dimensional under that end. Okay. Stick that back on there. Okay. Now, it also helps to kind of do a dry fit with this. I'm going to take that one off too. See, I got to talking, and I didn't pay attention to what I was doing. Left-handed scissors? Is that a thing? Or are you just messing with me? Are left-handed scissors a thing? All right, that's going to work right there. So I'm just going to peel these off. Have you guys noticed that the mini dimensional covers are a little more persnickety? Have you noticed that? I certainly have. Okay, and then I'll put a little. Can you cut left to right instead of right to left? All right, here we go. We'll see where we're going to put him. I think we're going to put him just so. Like that. Okay. And then we're going to put some dimensionals on our other little flowers. Our other little flowers like that. And these can have dimensionals everywhere because they're covering the whole thing. I liked how this ended up looking with the popped up flowers. I thought that was pretty. Yes, left-handed scissors are a thing. I'm watching you guys have your conversation. See, it's just like having a class at home. It's almost exactly the same. All right, we're just going to line that up over that stamped image and get it popped on, and then we'll do this little one right quickie, and we'll be just about done with the card front. All we have left is a little enamel shape. Okay. And we'll trim the edges of our linen thread. And then we'll be ready to go on. The rest is not nearly as persnickety, y'all. Okay, here we go. Okay. And then I'm going to take a couple of always artichoke enamel shapes. And I'm going to use a small one here. Right there. And another small one. Let's go there. And then let's take a large one and go here. There. And we'll trim that like so. And done. Card front is done. All right, so let's do the innards. That'll go much quicker. Thanks for sticking with me. And I'm going to use the other stamped image in the set. And I'm going to find my block that it will fit on any second now. Here we go. Now, I'm just going to go wild and not use my Stamp-A-Majig for this. And what I'm going to do, thank you, Jean. I'm going to ink this up. And I'm going to stamp it off 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And then on the 4th stamp, I'm going to stamp right in the middle of my panel. Like that. And that's all there is on that. I kept it simple. That's light enough you can write right over the top, and then it'll be like a watermark behind your sentiment or whatever you're going to say to your recipient. And of course, if you wanted to put a sentiment, you could still stamp right over the top of that, whatever you wanted to put. And if I was doing one like that, I would do it in full strength. Oh, you bad person. Okay, I gotta fix it, people. I can't leave it because that'll drive me crazy. Hang on, let me cut another piece. Hang on, murmur amongst yourselves. Murmur, murmur, I don't hear any murmuring. Make sure this is the right size. Let's try it again. Take 2. Clap. That's a really good point, except that I'd already put fast fuse on it, so it wouldn't work. But if I hadn't already fast fused it, yes, I could have done that. Okay, 2, 3. And cover that with a paper towel and stamp it in the middle. Okay. And then we'll fast fuse it. Okay, like so. And then we're going to fast fuse it into our true statement. At least it wasn't the last piece on the card front. Absolutely true. Yeah. Which is one of the reasons I build my cards the way I do, where I put my inner liner in first, and then I put my card front on as the very last thing. Because I've had too many times where I've borked that when it's too far down the road, and if I have to trash the entire card, I don't want to have to try to pry the card front off. Although it's doable, it's just a pain. Come on, fast fuse. Okay, there we go. Okay. And remember, this is a Daffodil Delight card base. And I've made the everything a little bit smaller, just a smidge smaller, so that it would have a bigger frame around the panels. All right, and then we're going to pop the card front on with dimensionals. Dog, what are you doing under there? It sounds like he's having a party. I think he's just trying to get comfortable. He's ready for bed. He's ready for bed. I've been making him go out one last time, and he looks at me like, Mom, please don't make me go out. Technical ink difficulties tonight. Yes, ma'am. That is correct. It's just kind of kicking my butt. Thank you very much, Marianne. I appreciate that. I was tickled with how it came out. I thought that was such a fun embossing technique. Alicia sent me that and said, I thought of you when I saw this. I'm pretty sure because of my predilection for the basket weave tee. Because that's what Karen Oliver used to. See, now this is a good way to screw that up. Be careful, Mary. Don't screw up. All right, and then we pop that on. And as they say in the industry, we're GTG. All right, let's do a quick envelope, shall we? We always have to have an envelope. And what I'm going to do for the envelope is I'm going to stamp in full strength. Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Barbara. Thanks, Twyla. Appreciate that. We're going to stamp in full strength soft suede on the front of my medium, very vanilla envelope. Get out of the way. And then I'm going to stamp again right here, like that. Okay, and then I'm going to do a quick color. We'll be done. Alrighty, there we go. So we're just going to color all these in real quick like. And they're small, and so I'm not really going to get head up about a whole lot of shading. I'll just come back right quick with the marker and put a little extra color on each flower. Aren't these just the prettiest images? Pretty, pretty, pretty. Now, of course, I've done these in yellow, but you could do them in white with a yellow center. So if you were stamping on white cardstock, you could just color the center. I've seen them like that. I've seen those kind of daffodils. And then we'll just use these are the same flowers that the Fenmeister got mad at. Yes. They're dastardly little boogers. They're in my kitchen now in a vase, which, if you look at it closely, looks a whole heck of a lot like a mason jar. You know what I learned today? I did not know this, and I feel a little foolish, so don't judge. I didn't know that daffodils smelled good. I just thought they were pretty. I've never really gotten close enough to one, but once I gathered up my little 10 and brought them in the house, they smell heavenly. It was wonderful. Nice to be able to smell those. Okay, almost done, folks. Hang with me. Or don't if you need to go. I think you can kind of foretell the end, yeah? And you can also always double check it tomorrow because it'll have a replay. Daffodils in Finn's mouth? No. He just was barking at him like you never know when they were going to show up and do something cray-cray, like come in the house. No, minivan drives up with 3 people in it. He says not a word. Daffodils bloom overnight, and he's on that like white on rice. Yeah. So apparently there's some decisioning going on that I am not privy to. What goes on in the minds of a dog, we may never know. We may never know. And he's not talking. All right, well, he's talking, but he doesn't really talk in anything I can understand. You guys, he's so funny, though, because he'll come and stand in front of me in the evening and just look at me like, I need something. And I'll say, what do you need? And he closes his mouth and catches his lips, and he cocks his head way to the side like, what? Are you talking to me? What? All right, give these a little bit of a shade right here, and we'll be done. You're Inspiring and Southern Serenade. Yeah, Jean, those are really nice, huh? Yeah. They're pretty. I like those a lot. You can see I'm not getting too head up about it, just kind of coloring where those shading lines are already there for me. So they've done all the work. I don't even have to think about it. And there we go. One each, blank on it. Jeez, oh Pete. I'm having a heck of a time. That will have to be redone. But anyway, the card is fine. So blank on the inside so you can put your own sentiment in, and pretty popped up daffodils on the front with a really fun embossing on embossing technique. Remember, I embossed with the dynamic teeth, the basket weave dynamic teeth, then I rubbed with Versamark, and then I sprinkled the copper embossing powder and heated it up, and that is the result. I did the same on the copper foil. All right, y'all, I appreciate you sticking with me, and try not to make the ink mistakes that I have made here tonight. Do not be like me. See you next week. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful week. See you on Friday. No, Sunday. Okay, bye.